What's up? Today you've got a very interesting opportunity to determine your chess rating level by solving this very special chess puzzle. It is black to play, and your task is to calculate the variations, find the best move, and determine who's winning here. Okay? Feel free to pause the video and think about it, because it's not all that simple. I would even encourage you to take some time on it, or else let me just keep talking for a little longer so that you have some time to tackle this puzzle. By the way, I think that this exercise is really helpful, not only because it helps you to know where you are currently in terms of your chess strength, but also shows you that clear pathway towards your chess progress. You can see exactly what skills are required for you to get to the next level and the level above that and the level above, so that chess mastery becomes less mysterious, but rather you can see clearly what differentiates masters and how they think about positions. Okay? Now, I hope that you came up with your solution already, and now let's go over the variations together and let's see the difference and whether you could solve it properly. So, first off, what do you do at the very beginning? You gotta evaluate a position, right? That's the classics of chess. You gotta evaluate a position and then determine the right plan or what you should do. Okay, so for that reason, if you haven't noticed at all that white is up a rook in the starting position, your rating is 600, because it's actually one of the very common errors of lower rated players, that they're kind of, neglect material thing. They don't really think about it that hard. Well, it's one of the most important things in chess. It's king safety and material. So if you don't think about this, it's really hard to progress. You gotta be aware of that. Because, for example, knowing that white is up a rook, it gives you an idea that you should do something really powerful right now, or else you are just about to lose the game. Alright, let's move on. Your rating is 800 if you didn't notice that you can grab this knight on d4. For example, if you played bishop d3 check instead. It's very common again for rather beginner level players that they seek for a check, and if they see an opportunity to deliver a check, they do it. Like there was that old quote from Fischer: a patzer sees a check, a patzer gives a check. And bishop d3, for example, here is wrong for many reasons. One is white can just move this knight back and cover the king and save this knight, so they black can no longer capture it. But also, even if the king moves to the corner and is going to grab the knight, and white is just waiting here again thanks to their extra rook. So bishop d3 is a pretty bad move, and if you played that move, or if you didn't notice at all that you could grab this knight, that is a level of 800. I'm really curious to know what your rating level is, by the way. So let's continue analyzing it together. If you notice the move queen takes d4 and realize that after that you're actually threatening checkmating one with queen to f2, and you got excited about that and thought, oh, I'm probably winning here, that's a rating level of 1000. So you notice the capture, which is, fairly obvious for a decent chess player. You even notice that there is a follow-up after that you're threatening checkmating one, but the downside is that you stopped right here. So what differentiates stronger players is that they're obviously trying to calculate variations a little longer. And versus weaker players, they just easily get excited about some variation that seems to be winning for them, and they just go for it, hoping that it's going to work out. For example, in this position, obviously, we gotta now think what white is gonna do now, right? And keep calculating, because it's not at the end of the line. For example, white can obviously check black's king and grab the pawn, and we gotta realize what's going on right here. If you notice this move, and especially if you were able to figure out that your king can run away, for example, in a variation like this, and now your king is safe and you're still threatening queen f2 checkmate and it looks like you're winning. If you were able to calculate up to this point, then it's a solid 1200 rating, because you could calculate variations for quite a number of moves, and you played the first proper move, so that's already a fairly decent result. Okay, here comes one thing that can initially give you a significant boost in your rating. This is if you thought equally hard for your opponent as you did for yourself. That's another differentiator of strong players. Weaker players, they think hard for themselves and think carelessly about their opponent. They don't think much about their opponent at all. Now, if you think for white here, okay, you see that there is queen to f2 checkmate. What can white do about that? There is a move queen to f3 here, for example. That's going to cover the square, and if you found this move, that gives you a lot of credit. Again, black still needs to be pretty careful, because we know that white is still up material. They've got a rook versus a minor piece, plus this knight is kind of trapped there. Therefore, if you cannot continue your attack successfully, you're actually losing the game. And if you notice the move queen to d3, started thinking about this and realized that here the winning move for black is bishop to d3, and again, that's actually the only way for black to win. If not, black is probably losing. So bishop d3 check. If you notice that that's the way for you to continue, and you realize that you're actually winning here, because if king goes here, you can checkmate white with queen to g1. The next move, that's got to be a checkmate. or if white covers with the knight, that enables you to grab this rook on a1, and actually it's a checkmate as well. If you could calculate all these lines, that's a really astonishing result. That gives you 1800 rating level. The first category, very solid. You could calculate strong move for you. You found the defensive move for white. You continued and found the follow-up to your attack. That's something that you can already be fairly proud of. And if you think that is the end of the story and you found the winning variation, then here comes a surprise. After queen takes d4, now how do we calculate variations from here? Normally the calculation technique tells that you gotta check for forcing moves as well as attacking moves for both sides. That's how you find best moves for both sides and you keep calculating them. Now in this position, what are the forcing moves that white can deliver? And the forcing moves are checks, captures, and attacking moves. One is definitely queen takes b7, we already talked about that. That is a capture and check to the king. And the other one is an attacking move and it's a check, it's the move knight to d5. If you notice this move, thought about it for a little while and realized that after pawn takes, white has this strong follow-up, rook e1 check to the king, that instantly levels up your chess to the national master level 2200. Because again, like a lot of players can find tactics for themselves, but rarely, if ever, they can find strong tactics for their opponent. And your ability to do that from both sides, as well as to find tactics for your opponents, again, instantaneously brings you closer to the master level. So if you calculate it up to this point, but here it became kind of less clear what's going on here. You realize that the king can move in various different directions and there are several moves that white can follow up with, and you thought like, yeah, it's something complicated, couldn't really figure out. That's still 2200, okay? But if you could also calculate the following lines just to figure out more clearly what's going on here. For example, you notice that king can go here, but then fails to queen h8 check, and white's winning the queen thanks to this x-ray, therefore black can't go there. And if the king goes somewhere here, then it's also dangerous for black, because after this queen takes b7, what we've got here is that the king is under this massive fire of white's pieces, and the king is rather lonely here, and white must be winning. I gotta tell you honestly that when I was calculating the puzzle, I have stopped calculating the variations right here, and I felt that, you know, strictly speaking, I gotta calculate till the end of the forcing line and know the outcome, but I kind of felt that it must probably be bad for black, so I trusted my intuition and stopped my calculation here, thinking that probably white must be winning here. So maybe I'm lazy, but also just tell you the truth, you know, grandmasters can also be lazy. But, you know, we trust our positional understanding, and later I checked it with computer, and computer, yeah, says, yeah, white is winning here, there's a forcing win. So if you calculated these lines and figure out that if black actually moves their king here somewhere, then white is winning, if you could see all those variations, then it's 2400. You are at the level of international master, congratulations, really great result. And finally, here comes the ultimate solution. If you noticed in this position that you have this move bishop e4, that interferes this check and basically stops white's attack, that is the ultimate solution. And right, looking at this very position, the move bishop e4 may seem obvious to you, but we gotta keep in mind that you had to foresee all these moves, visualize this position, and then see bishop e4, right? Because it wasn't possible before for black to play bishop, but only in this position where you have this pawn over here, you have the queen over here to support it, right? So, and also it's less intuitive, because our usual way of thinking is check to the king must move, right? So it's our usual way of thinking. Therefore, finding the move bishop e4 when you had to visualize this variation up front is not that simple. And especially if you could find that move and also calculate still, not queen takes a7, queen takes b7, calculate that, white can still try to give some checks, but at the end of the day you escape and there is nothing white can do, then that's the ultimate solution to the puzzle, and that gives you a rating of 2570. That's what was the original rating of this puzzle. I'm not exactly sure how they figure it out, but I also think that if you could see all these variations, that clearly means that you're somewhere at the master to grandmaster level, so you can certainly take pride in your result. I'm really curious to know what your result is and how it correlates with your actual chess rating, so if possible, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd really love to know. Also, if your result wasn't that impressive and you feel slightly disappointed, don't get discouraged. Every master was once a disaster. At least now you see the clear path for you of what skills you are lacking, what skills you need to master in order to get better. And also, if you missed on the first video about this subject, you can click over here and give yourself another try, another chance to reevaluate your chess skills. Knowing what you know now, hopefully you'll be able to do it better. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon.